Hey everybody, welcome back. I apologize that I've been sick for a few days and that's why it's affected my video release schedule. I hope you're still enjoying this. Consider liking and subscribing. And after today's video, we'll be using typos in our chat agent, and we can implement this now in our computer vision project. So let's get started. Okay, welcome back to the chat agent. We are working on making this a little bit more human-like with some typos. So I've created this file here and called typos.py, and this would be a lot for me to type in step by step with you. So you can either just copy this out of the GitHub link in the description, or you could do this yourself. But let me explain what's going on here. So when we make a typo on the keyboard, it's possible that if you wanted to press the A key, for example, that you could press the P key, but that's all the way on the other side of the keyboard. So it's a little bit unlikely. It's possible. I'm sure it happens. And I'm sure that part of our language typos comes from thoughts and maybe thinking about a different word while we're typing. So I think it's possible to make those types of typos. But the type of typo that I'm aiming for in this code is, what we call fat fingering, where we want to hit the A key, but we hit a key near it. So what I've created is this class called typos. And essentially this is a dictionary that takes a character. So for example, the character A, and it returns a likely typo based on the proximity to the keyboard. So what I've done is I've created a list here of all the keys that touch the A key on a typical keyboard. So Q, W, S, and Z all would touch the A key, for example, if you look at your keyboard. Or if you look at your keyboard, if you look at the B, there's 4 characters that touch the B key: V, G, H, and N. So that's how this is set up. So that way it reflects the physical realities of a standard US keyboard. If you were to try to hit the A key and fat fingered it, you'd likely hit a key around it, not something all the way on the other end of the keyboard. And I've created a function here just called make typo. And what this will do is this imports the random library. Random.choice will just take one of these from the list. So it will just return a choice from one of these. So if I put in A, it would return one of these. That way I get some variability, but also something that's possible. And I probably won't go through typing out all the other changes that I made to my code. I just thought I'd talk through it this time since you've already got a working code from part 2. But what I've done is when I get to the message and send it section, instead of typing out each individual word now, we're going to type out each character. So I have for C in message. So this is every character. And the first case is if the character is a space. So a lot of times when we're typing, we kind of type out some words and then we pause. And a lot of times it's common to pause it like a space or at a word, kind of while you're mid-sentence. So what I've created is this a chance to proc a pause during the typing, a pause that would occur during a space, kind of to simulate a person that's typing a sentence halfway through, stops and thinks about what's the next word that they want to say. We could also add, which I didn't do here, but we could also add a chance to drop the space. That's also another type of common typo where you're typing and you might accidentally hit the space key too lightly, or it might not register or whatever. But I didn't do that, but that's something that I would probably like to do to improve this a little bit more. Another thing that I've done here is under the is alpha. So what this is doing is if it's not a space, but it is a character from A to Z, so not a number, not a period, but if it's a letter, then I want to roll the dice essentially. That's what all these typo chances are. So this is rolling the dice from 0 to 100, and I have a chance. So my typo chance is 1. So I have a 1% chance of getting a typo, which I think is kind of reasonable. If you make it, 50%, it's going to look kind of like garbage. But essentially, we're going to roll the dice, and if it's an alpha character, and we roll the dice and we get a typo, in that 1% or 5% or whatever you want to use, it will return the typo character from this typo library that I just showed you. And it does it just the way that I showed you. It puts in the character that was in the original message, and it returns one of the choice typo characters. And if it's not a alpha character, that means it's something else. For now, I'm just going to type it. We may also want to add here a chance to, a chance to skip it or something like that. So there's more things that we can do to make this even more human-like, forgetting spaces, adding double spaces, dropping punctuation, but we can get into that later. And then because the typing is now character by character instead of we're typewriting a whole message or a whole chunks of words, I've adjusted my type time. I've been playing with something that I want to get something that feels a little more natural. So I've found this 0 to 2000 times this decimal gets me something on a per character basis that feels pretty good, has a lot of variability. So let's try this out. I've got this long string of just kind of random words here. So let's try this out, and I'll show you how this is going to work with the typos. Okay, so I've only got a 1% chance of a typo to try to make this look a little more natural. So there you go. Instead of a Y, it shows a U, which is adjacent to the Y key, so that looks good. And you can see how it's typing a little slower this time. We could speed this up just by adjusting those numbers. But you can see it made another typo here. And let's see if it'll pause on a space for us. Again, another typo here, but it looks like a reasonable typo. So I don't know if you can notice, but it hesitates on some of the spaces. That's part of that hesitation, like right there. It hesitated for a moment, kind of like the way when we type, we might type out a couple words, pause for a second to let our thoughts catch up. So you can see that this is starting to become a lot more human-like, where we're getting some errors that look, possible. So I'm probably going to end this series now. I'm going to keep this kind of short. I'm probably going to come back to this and eventually do something extremely human-like. But the next step, if you want to take this on your own, in the meantime, the next step that you're probably going to want to consider is corrections. So we have typos by character. We may want to have typos by word. So you may want to have a list of common words, for example, 2, there, and have them substitute. Have a chance for a substitution of common misspelled words. That would be a way to improve the typos a little bit. But the next thing that I would want to implement is correction. So what I would do is and I'm actually going to type now. So if I was going to type out like this is a typo, and let's say I missed the letter O and I hit the letter I, and I kept typing, then a lot of times people will stop. They'll realize they made a mistake, and then they'll backspace like this, and then they'll retype that out correctly. So I think that's a function that we can create as a next step, correction function, that when we have a chance for a typo, when we proc the typo, we can also proc a chance to correct it by hitting the backspace the correct number of times and retyping that part of the message. So I think that would be a very cool next step. But you can see that we've got a pretty reasonable typer now that we can use, and I can implement this into the AI agent that I'm working on. So I hope you found this useful in creating a rudimentary but human-like typing agent that you can implement on your AI. And I'll probably come back with a much more refined version of this and put this on GitHub and walk through that. So I hope you'll find that useful, and look forward to seeing you in some more videos. Thanks.